well, how do I get coffee in the tequila without using additives, remaining 100% organic, and not overpowering? We didn't want to be a coffee liqueur.
When you get access to a lot of those things, you realize how empty they are if you don't have nobody to share them with.
Yeah, I think, again, it's valuing yourself and those that are around you and understanding, who really supports you. It's a challenge over like the definition of successful, right? Like I feel like so many kids, they see successful as a Lamborghini, and it's like, it's measured so many different ways. And the reality is only you can dictate what that level of success is, what that looks like. Yeah, of course. So, going back to the R&D in my kitchen, in order to make a brand stand out, we had to create something that was super different, right? And I say a lot that we're not better, we're different. And how we do that is I was like, well, if I could marry these two worlds, I love coffee as well. And I'm like, well, how do I get coffee in the tequila without using additives, remaining 100% organic, and not overpowering? We didn't want to be a coffee liqueur. We had Cafe Patron and Mr. Black's. There's a billion coffee liqueurs out there, and they're all good, but we did not want to be a liqueur. So I sat there and figured out a way to age our barrels in cold brew for so long, and then we rinse those barrels out. We let those barrels dry, and then we fill those barrels with our reposado. So what it does is it brings on all these natural notes of dark chocolate and natural sweetness from the coffee that was in there before, but it really gives the versatility to the juice is what it does. It's that was kind of unexpected. What it does is it allows it to shine through in various cocktails and Negronis and old fashions and all these different cocktails out there. So it's creates a very special story.
It does. Not only story, a taste.
Yeah.
Very, very special taste. Yeah. And now, the mind behind Quintaliza and the relationship between your personality, the wild soul that we have been talking about since you were a kid, and translating that into your tequila brand. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a connection?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, our story is a bold new spirit. And we have a huge team now. I think there's 11 of us or so, and when we talk and we build out our brand book, we have a saying in there. It's like, smile and agree, then do whatever the fuck you're going to do anyway. And this is kind of like this, approach to like, we have a very large playing field and our guardrails are set very, very far apart. But I also want us playing on the guardrails, like to where even though we have all this playing field, like just still teeter totter over here. Because I feel like that's the edge of, they're just being, ridiculous to be ridiculous and to get attention versus, no, this is like just completely different and stands out and unique. So our approach is definitely a brand forward approach. We talk more about who we are, what we are, trying engaging with our consumers to find out why they drink tequila first place. To take Quintaliza aside, why do they even drink tequila? What do they do? Why are they drinking? When are they drinking? And just engaging with them through like high quality content. So if you go on our Instagram page, you'll see a lot of cinematographic video, great photography, obviously, mixing humor with education just to make sure that we're engaging with those that wouldn't necessarily typically follow a tequila brand, but just are intrigued by, the story, what we're putting out there. And I think we've had I know we've had a insane organic growth and engagement because of that, which again, just makes it fun. I think anytime you do branding, I think if you try to create the brand for everybody else, it comes across as, not organic. I think if you and your team build it for you and what you like just as a person, like take sales, take all that shit out of the side, just build it because you just think it's fucking cool. You will end up with a fucking cool brand because it's like you're speaking from the heart. And the reality is that there's a lot more people that can relate to that versus you trying to sell them something. As soon as they sniff that, oh, you're trying to sell me this, it becomes hard. We actually even like in our copy, in our messages, we take out the link in bio, like, go here to buy. Like, you gotta be very careful on when you do that. It's a very tactical approach, because if it's in every single post, it's like, okay, it's very pushy.
Very.
And it has to be a natural thing. I mean, we're asking people to take money out of their wallets inevitably, and buy a product, but it's more than that. We want them to come in and really be a part of this family.
And I think you mentioned a key word, fun.
Yeah.
Because when you think about alcohol, on any other circumstances, you might think of alcohol, tequila, any other type of brand, Quintaliza or any other type of brand, you think of fun. Why? Because if you want to be in a social gathering, you want to have fun, or you are having fun. If you want to be on a party, you are having fun. So translating and showing that to your audience, I think is the best way possible to make your product, to sell your product. You know what I mean? Because they're gonna relate this brand with fun.
Yeah, I mean, alcohol is one of those things that it's got a mixed use, though. I mean, obviously, you want to naturally go, oh, it's just a fun party, but it has a various. You're celebrating, loss sometimes, and you're celebrating wins. So I think the reality of is, again, like understanding why people drink alcohol, period, right? When they do it, and again, just like coming across as very organic and natural, to not really like always say life is this big party, but there's some reality thrown in there as well.
And now that we're talking about alcohol, obviously alcohol is it provides fun when it's controlled, but obviously we see a lot of cases where alcohol is used as a way of escaping reality,
Right.
And that's when it becomes a problem. How do you give awareness to your audience about responsibly use your product or any other product containing alcohol? How have you been educating people on, how to drink your tequila, how to find ways not to abuse the substances, etc.?
Sure. I mean, we've got a fantastic PR team that keeps us in check to make sure that we're doing and saying the right things. Obviously, it goes without saying that we ask everyone to drink responsibly. Obviously, you can't control everyone's outside what they choose to do, but we don't necessarily dictate this as a party tequila, right? This is sipping tequila first, cocktail tequila second, close second. And it's kind of one of those tequilas that is designed to sit back with a cigar or a great steak, or it's much like the wine aspect, where you don't see too many ragers with red wine, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like this approach, like when you have wine, you naturally think, oh, well, I'm going to have a glass or two glasses or whatever, but it's with a meal, or it's with friends, or by a bonfire, or at a picnic, or whatever the case may be. And I think a sipping tequila is a very similar approach. It's not this shot, type mentality. You won't see this at clubs. You're going to see this at lounges and speakeasies and cigar bars and, high quality steakhouses and, poolside, events where they're just relaxing, and you have a margarita, right? And you have all these different drinks. But again, it's just like the message isn't to party. The message is to enjoy responsibly.
Absolutely. And how are you spreading the word? Like, what's your, in terms of, you're building a brand, you're starting on a niche that is very, very competitive. What would you say to people who are trying to build a brand, an alcohol brand, any type of alcohol? What would it take to start? What's a good starting point?
So alcohol brands in general, the best starting point is understand your POV. Step one, why are you doing it? What are you bringing to the market that is different? How are you going to react with your consumers? Why would they choose your product over another one? Are you creating something that's simply better, or are you trying to create something different? There's a book that I read and that I love, and one of the things that it mentioned was trying to become the category king, understanding the differences between even Uber and a taxi. Uber isn't better than a taxi; it's a completely different experience. So Quintaliza Tequila is that. It's designed to try and be more of a category king, to where when someone thinks about aged tequila, they go, oh yeah, that like Quintaliza, and everybody compares. Or you call it a Kleenex, it's not called a Kleenex, it's a tissue, right? But Kleenex was a brand that set that category king that everyone calls a Kleenex. So I think if you're going to create a brand, an alcohol brand, just establish that POV and ask the question, why are you doing it, and how can you what's the problem and how can you fix it, and how are you going to get that message out?
Perfect. And now going a little bit more personal, outside the ventures and the professional and business ventures, who is Mike right now? What does he like to do for fun? What does his family look like? What's his life right now?
Chaotic. Traveling like crazy and being a dad as well. So I'm a single father, and a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old boy. So that's a wild time right there. But they're my life. They're my number one thing, and I have them as much as I can every other week. We're pretty engaged, and I think I'm very involved in their life, constantly trying to see what's up with them. Challenge them in their own world, their sports. One plays hockey, one plays baseball. I'm a big hockey fan. Been playing hockey my whole life, ice hockey since I was still playing. I love the mountain bike as well, but anything adventurous that's high energy is pretty much what I do. So snowboarding, mountain biking, skateboarding, all that shit. Let's get crazy, rock and roll. Let's do it.
It's in a pretty challenging age, I would say, for kids. I remember when I was that age. I was, you went through the same thing. It's the age where you're trying to figure things out, or who you are, or who you want to be in the future. And as men, I think that hits a little bit. I think it hit both ways.
Yeah.
Even though for women, there's a common purpose sometimes that is being a mother. For us, it might be being a father, but being a father requires many things that we don't think back in then when we want to have. I don't know. I remember I said I still want to have 5 kids, which everybody tells me I'm crazy.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
I'm pretty sure you were gonna say the same.
That's batshit crazy.
but I still want to do it. When I get the first, I will see if the other 4 are gonna come or not.
Yeah.
But I think we don't think about this kind of things and the responsibilities, and I can't imagine, being a single dad, it requires another skill set, because you need to cover other aspects that are not there. So a lot of respect for that. I think being involved in that's your legacy. So at the end, your kids are the ones that are gonna be here when you're gone.
Yeah. I mean, it's about teaching and understanding kind of where they're at in their life. The 16-year-olds is good because they're starting to experience a whole different level of becoming an adult. But like you had mentioned, it's very challenging for especially boys to figure out who they are. And it goes back to that confidence play that I talked about earlier, is that at that age between 12 and 15 really is such a horrible, shitty age. It's so awkward. The girls in the class are 2 feet taller, and the boys are haven't grown yet. Some guys have hit puberty and they're 6'5". Other ones haven't still have no hair in their arms. It's just such an awkward stage.
It's an awkward.
So they're just constantly trying to figure out who they are. And I think as a parent, your job is to really challenge them so that to find who they are and put them in situations that helps build confidence. My oldest son was a goalie for ice hockey. And it's a great position to be in, because there's you're going to let a lot of pucks in, and teams are going to look at you, but then they're also going to celebrate you when you win. All these random people in the stands that are happy that you did your job, and that's a confidence booster. Baseball's the same way for my younger son. Is you get the bat and you crack one, and you get cheers, or you get a home run, or you run the bases. It's that confidence that they need amongst peers, because of parents telling them, hey, you're doing a great job, you're awesome. At that age, they feel like, oh, you have to tell me that. That's your job. You're my father. You have to tell them, say that I'm great, and then I'm good looking, and all that stuff. The reality is you don't. Your job is to tell them, what they need to hear, not necessarily what they want to hear, but put them in situations and support those situations for growth.
Absolutely. Also, it adds the competitive aspect, which I think is vital for any industry. When you grow older, you realize that the world is very competitive, especially here in America, which I think is a blessing, to be completely honest, for the ones that want to take the risk. but it's very competitive.
It's a challenge over like the definition of successful, right? Like I feel like so many kids they see successful as a Lamborghini, you know, and it's like it's measured so many different ways, and the reality is only you can dictate what that level of success is, what that looks like. You know, someone say, "Oh, he's so successful." I'm like, "Why?" Because you're on his Instagram page and it looks like he's on a private jet, but he's actually on one that's parked at a car show. Like it's all perception at times, right? So like measure success based on like your own personal goals, set small steps and succeed those, and then you can say, "I've been successful," and not really give a shit what anybody else views you at. Right. And that's kind of the same thing with these kids is at a younger age is identifying what success means and looks to them, not what it looks to you. What I would want them to do versus what they may end up doing are, you know, probably two different things.
They might follow your path or they might not.
Not.
That's
I
their
hope
take.
Yeah. Completely up to them.
Now, talking about success, what's your aspiration, ambition, both in business and the personal aspect for the near future, your present, near future, and long term?
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, we're just growing. You know, I'm a head down type of guy. I have a timeline built out, and I have a strategy built out, and I follow that as closely as possible, understanding that there's going to be, you know, navigations and workarounds at times that have to happen. You're going to have to pivot. Something wasn't working or we thought was going to lay out didn't. So we follow that path pretty strongly, or I do. And they're all small interim goals, quarterly goals to try to meet. And I try to, obviously, you know, I shoot low but hope for that, you know, obviously we usually come out on top a little higher than expectation. But the goal for the company is to, again, stay focused. Kind of like that hockey analogy that, you know, with kids. I coached a lot of hockey, and I would always tell the kids when they come over, like the score is 0-0 no matter what. I don't care if we're up 6 or down 6, it's 0-0. Because we're going to put head downs and we're going to work. We're going to stick to our path. We're going to make sure we're doing our breakouts. We're going to do all those things appropriate. So it's the same thing with, you know, Quintaliza is that we're getting in articles in Rolling Stone and Rob Report, been in Bartender Magazine twice, Chilled Magazine, all these great features. And it's very easy to get distracted and go, woohoo, yeah, we're killing it, we're winning. But I always look at anything like that as measures that somebody recognized my hat in a crowd. And that is huge. When you're walking through a crowd or someone's like, hey, I know that brand, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Small victories.
But you don't stop and talk. You just say, thanks, man, you keep walking. It's the exact same thing. So you have to take it, hey, awesome, this is a great win. Let's continue focused and moving forward. Just sticking to the plan.
So basically keeping control of the emotions. This is a common ground that I think all businesses, I believe they need to have controlling the emotions. We're emotional by nature.
Yeah.
So yeah, celebrating the small wins, I think that's key.
Yeah.
You know, you got to celebrate them, learn from your mistakes, but keep going. Right. I think is the way to go.
Yep, 100%.
What about your personal life, your kids? How do you picture yourself in the future with them?
I mean, so, you know, going back to what I measure success as, for me, success is time. To gain extra time to be with family, to be with friends, to be with my kids, to travel, just to go and enjoy things, like just be in places and enjoy environments and being outside, you know, like that's what I want. I love culture. So that's my goal personally, is to just, you know, build something that gives me the time to not have to be somewhere or not be attached to a phone or an email or in an office or anything like that. For me personally, that's how I measure success. It's not how many houses you have or how big the nice cars or whatever that crap. It's just like how much time, because it's the one thing I think is the most valuable in our lives.
And something else that I would add up to that is like when you get access to a lot of those things, you realize how empty they are if you don't have nobody to share them with. And that's an interesting fact, because I was very materialistic my entire life until some events trigger a more empathetic approach mm-hmm. towards life. Mm-hmm. And that gave me a little bit of a hard stop on, well, maybe the materialistic stuff is good, mm-hmm. but if I don't have anybody to share it with, like, what's the point?
Right.
And I started taking care more of my family, my my parents,
Right.
my sister, everybody, my friends, etc. Now, how would you like to be remembered by your loved ones?
I think I'm already going to be remembered the way that I want to be remembered. I'm happy where I'm at. Just, I think for me, and I think they would all say is that like I just never really took a no for an answer. I just kind of like to challenge everything, and there's been so many, like mom would say you're gonna put the word no on your headstone, and it's like no, I'm not doing that. Like it's just kind of like this, approach to certain things, and I'm pretty confident they already kind of got an idea of what that looks like.
And that's good. Would you say you're translating that personality and that approach towards life to your kids?